The special guest today is Princess Marilyn Douala Manga Bell. Welcome. And the interviewer who will guide the conversation in the coming hour is Liesbeth Bik. Welcome. From artist duo Bik van der Pol. Liesbeth Bik is the advisor at the Jan van Eyck Academy of Maastricht. And she's the teacher at the Piet Zwart Institute. And president of the Akademie van Kunsten, which is part of the Royal Academy of Science. After the talk will be time for questions. Now please give a warm applause to Liesbeth Bik and Princess Marilyn Douala Manga Bell. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Very welcome, Princess. We say Marilyn, no? Yeah, my name is Liesbeth. So, but to be a princess must be something.
Yes. No, it works.
So what we are going to do this hour, we have had some, or one previous conversation. I also talked with Ode, here also present in the room, and I talked with Sandra and Camille, who have been working often with you in Douala. And so we went through some things, and we would like this to be a very informal conversation. That's always better. And we will sort of cycle through some different things. So, how it started, what is happening now, what the future will bring, what are your dreams, what is the impact, what does art do, and what is the impact of art on the city, on lives, and on life. Yeah, and you said also it's very important to talk about the dream. The dream, but we will get to that. First we do the past, no? Yeah, how it started, 30 years of experience. You already commented on the title of this talk or this conversation. The practice of public art in Douala should be the practice of art in public space.
Art, okay. Thank
but
you.
First, hold on. First, I forgot something. Sorry. I have to introduce you. Because 30 years experience in this organization, or as the initiator of this organization, is something that I should a little bit put to the light, because not many people have met you before, I assume. Yeah. Okay. So you are educated or raised, how do you say that, as a socio-economist, and you are now the current president of the organization doual'art in Douala, Kameroen. Yeah. Born in Cameroon, I see. You were in France for a long time, studied there, master degree in development economics, and that's where you met your husband, DJ Schaub. This is all on Wiki, so you can check if I tell you the truth. And then after getting married in 1986, you moved back to your hometown, Douala. Yeah. In 1888 of the previous century, lasting till 1993, you were a delegate and executive manager for the Central African region of the Association pour la promotion des initiatives communautaires africaines, a pan-African non-governmental organization based in Douala. And then in 1991, you started with doual'art. Yeah. I think that is it. There's a lot more about international expert. Maybe that's something to say, I think, since 1994, because this also brings something, vice versa. You have been collaborating as an international expert in urban and rural development with the Swiss corporation DDC, the World Bank, the European Commission, and with the German Sustainable Development and Resource Management Corporation, Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit. So this also positions, let's say, you as a person, but also the impact already, I would say, tips a little bit to the impact of your 30 years of experience. Then maybe one thing I would like to say as well, to emphasize, welcome also to the ambassador of Cameroon, I'm sure that Marilyn is very happy that you're here because it's important that governments or governmental bodies, let's say, see what the impact is or hear the impact if they didn't know already. That's also okay. Welcome. So, Marilyn, let's start. 30 years of experience. Can you say a little bit about how you started doual'art and why?
Good morning, and thank you to be here, so numerous. It's not so... I'd like to apologize about my English, because sometimes I miss words and things, but I hope you will open your hearts, your souls, and try to understand what I want to share with you through the questions of Liesbeth. And we will be together on the same boat. I just want to add one thing about me, and this is now important. It wasn't when I started, and when we met, it wasn't so important, because we met a few years ago, last century. Nowadays, after the death of my father, 12 years ago, I brought my title, my status of princess. I belong to the royal family in Kameroon, and there is something that I will share with you in my presentation. Doual'art is my job, my passion, but it's also something which is kind of responsibility in Cameroon, as my father asked me to bring that, to carry that. So the person I met before, few years ago, called me Marilyn, and the new person called me Princess Marilyn. That's something important for me, because it's not so easy to be a princess, and at the same time, it's I'm a human being as you are. So then the question, how things started. When I went back to Cameroon, in Cameroon with my husband, Didier Chaube, I met him in Paris, and he was an art historian, and I didn't have nothing to do with art, because in Cameroon there were no museums, there were no galleries, there were not a lot about, nothing about art, and contemporary art particularly. Then when I met him and when we fall in love, we decided to come back to my country, because he was in Cameroonian, and we understood really early that we should do something together to be a very strong couple, a binôme and a duo. And we looked at what was around us, and we decided, because he was an art historian, and because I was coming from the social studies, we decided to create something which has been called Doual, for the city of Douala, and all about the settlement of the city of Douala, and art, because of art activism. And then our practice is on the practice of art in public, in social public sphere in Cameroon. It's social and public art in that sphere, very important. Then, how do things start?
Yeah, well, there's a very nice sentence that I saw somewhere in one of the publications. There's 4 publications that I have here on the table, which are very interesting to read. I didn't read them all yet completely, but there's a lot of information and experience also written up there. But there was one sentence that struck me also a lot, and I think that DJ was the one who said that. Never to renounce the utopias that appeared in the wake of the post-68 movements. And that sentence struck me because I think it's a very central sentence to the start of doual'art.
Yes. Utopia is something we are still trying to go behind, you know. We never go to we never get the utopia, but we are still fighting for that. So what happened in the 90s in Douala, in Cameroon, it was the, we say in French, année de braise. It was, people were in the streets claiming for more democracy. It was a real fight in the streets, you know, and they were really thinking that they were able to change the model. And we were witnesses of that claiming, and we were thinking, what can we do together after 4 years in Cameroon, back in 1986? Mm-hmm. What can we do? And then we knew that we wanted to work with artists because he was an art historian and he was involved in that sphere, domain. And then we decided that let's try to give to the street something new, which won't be fights, confrontation, but giving to the streets and the public areas a place for negotiation. Mm-hmm. So we decided that the streets will be places for peace, trying to give peace. And the only possibility was to ask to the artist to propose objects, to propose elements for discussion, for conversation, for dialogue. This is how it started.
That was because you didn't have a space in the beginning. No. I understood that it was a sort of floating yes. Office, let's exactly. say, a landing where it's needed. Okay. So you say you asked artists to bring proposals for objects, for pieces of negotiation in the streets, other than fighting.
Yes.
And maybe fighting with a different means, let's say, tools. So how did they bring those objects, or how did they bring those proposals to you? How did you make sure that they landed in the right places?
First of all, there were one artist saying that he was a contemporary artist. So there were there were young, there were a lot of painters, and they were painting for the expatriates of tourists. They were not at all working to speak, to dialogue, the artists, to dialogue with the people around them. And it was like, we are painters, we have learned how to paint, and they were self-taught artists, but we just want to sell. We just want to give our work and nothing to what will happen with that. And then the first part of our work, our job, was to enhance the new way of dialogue between artists and the population and the people around them. This has been a very, very, very strong work we have done. And when we started, there was this one artist, Coco Comenye, who is still alive. And nowadays there is so many artists. And the schools of art were open in 1909, you know, so more than 10 years after our birth. So we decided at that time to enhance this ability for the artists to work and look at their surrounding, to work and dialogue with people around them. And this way of doing, we needed other people, and we decided at that moment, at the beginning of doual'art, to invite artists from abroad countries, because most of them were trained in schools.
Yeah, that's where you come in also with the professional training of artists in countries that you invited people from, and that there would be, in your view, also an exchange with regards to the trained and non-trained, the professionals and the non-professionals, and how that perhaps you created a new school in that sense, no? Could you see doual'art as a school?
A friend of mine, whose name is Camille, said to me, yes, you are a school. Where is he? Camille, is he around? Oh, no, he's there. Thank you, Camille, to be here, and thank you, Sandra, for this invitation. Thank you, BK, Informati, for this invitation. Yes, Camille is always saying you are a school. It's not a school, it's a former way of asking to people to be more intelligent, you know. And no one has the response. Everybody is looking for the response. And even if you have the knowledge how to create this stylo, this pen, you maybe have not the knowledge how to use it, and someone can help you to use it in another way. Then the artists were inviting from the abroad countries, were coming sometimes with their culture, well, most of the time with their culture, but with them, you know, the schools is somewhere where it's quite normative, even if there is experiences in Europe for new school of art, but it's quite normative. And in Cameroon, as the artists were self-taught, they have no limits. Sometimes they are going, hey, oh, come back. But they're also working with, at that time, at the beginning, there were not so many material, you know. So they were working with what they found around them. And it was obviously inventive. How to use the materials, how to create what you have in your mind, how to give it back to the people we are used in Cameroon to say, we were used less and less, but we were used to say, art is not for us. Art is a luxury. Art is for the people who have a lot of money and so on. But nowadays, a lot of people are really aware of what's going on because of art in public sphere, but also because it's a way to have a kind of what we are fighting for. It's to give through the artist, the artwork, art practices, representation for people of what they are. You know, it's representation. So art is that, and that's it.
Yeah. So can you maybe say a little bit more about that connection? Because I think with regards to maybe the place where we are today in the Netherlands, I, as an artist, but also as many other things, I encounter lots of questions of why art, why is this important, what does art do, why would it be important, and then there is a pressure from governments. I wouldn't say only maybe this one coming, but also from the past. There's always these questions, and maybe for the right reasons. Maybe we take art for granted here, and therefore these questions come in place. But you come from an area where art is not being necessarily taken for granted, but you have set up something that actually generated in those 30 years something that art does, no? You mentioned art is not a tool, or maybe Aude said that, I forgot. Art is not an instrument, it's a tool. Okay. There's areas in the world where art is an instrument and not a tool. So, or art is an object marketable. We are here in the art fair, where this is certainly also one of the things that sort of stick to an artwork. But maybe you can say something about how this tool functioned and what it created. And then we move slowly to the now, because no, but it's like yeah.
The path has been hard, so interesting, passionately. We had a lot of opportunities, and we took them at the right time, you know. But at the same time, we had a lot of obstacles. So what is very, very the line is that as human beings, we are full of emotions, and as witnesses of what is going on around us, from the beginning of doual'art till still now, and more, this is kind of chess on the échec. Well. there is a loss of repair, there is a loss of humanity, and we have this obligation to ask to the artist to provocate emotions, to reactivate what is completely who we are. We are human beings, and the emotions has to be stimulated. I think when I am speaking at the same time. Then, if we look at, and this was a lot of discussion we had with Didier Schroep. It was marvelous.
Sorry, with
Didier
okay.
Schroep, my partner.
Yeah.
My partner in the life and my partner is in our work, and doual'art is our third kid. So now that I have 2 boys. It was a discussion around, if you look at the community in the past before the colonization, there was some people, maybe a group of persons were in charge of creating the objects for the community, for the recognition of belonging to one community. So we thought, Didier and I, that it was interesting or important to ask to the artist to become the same as the handicraft, or I don't know how to call them, but they were artists, in fact, not with this habit in Europe and in the western part of the world to sign artwork, but they were creating when the chief, the king were asking them, do something, we are going to get out and there will be a feast in the community. So they were the one who were creating those pieces, those objects. And we decided, Didier and I, that working on, and that's so important to work on this question of identity. We are lost nowadays, and from a long time, more and more we are lost, and the young generation more than us. Then it was important for us to ask to the artist to create artwork in such a way that people around will look at that artworks and have the idea that it's speaking to each of them. The first, this is
it's supposed to
I
work.
don't know how to work. It works.
Yeah, because you brought some images as well.
Yes,
I
I
get
just
an idea also how it is situated.
Yeah, and this is l'espace doual'art. It has been created in 1995. So doual'art was born in 1991, just after this freedom of association to create an association. The law was promulgated in 1990. So 1 year after, we create doual'art as an association in Douala, and this is the place where we are. It's behind the palace of the King's Bell. And inside this building, inside this facade, we have a very huge place, about 300 meters square meters. And we at the beginning when we opened, we were offering to accompany artists about 15 exhibitions a year. Because we wanted them to work, we wanted them to work, and an artist, when he knows that he has an exhibition, he's working. Then now it's about 6 exhibitions, and less because it's a lot of work. And at the same time, there is more and more. We are the only art center. We are the only place for diffusion artworks, and so this was a way to accompany artists also.
And then it's also, maybe when you were talking about the space inside the building as an exhibition space, is also maybe, in my understanding, maybe a little bit like in contrast with the activities that you developed with doual'art and bringing the negotiation to the street instead of inside a space. No?
We started by
outside.
calling.
Yeah.
No, we started by that, to call the artists to work. They had to experience their practices, They had to, be in confrontation, let's say, to the eyes of the public, and to understand or to try to define, to decide what their work is, what their orientation, what their philosophy is, and so on, So it was the first real activator for the art scene in Cameroon. Was not the Espace doual'art because he was not creating, but the exhibition in different spaces in the city, not as public art, but art, the diffusion of art indoors, outside. So in 1995 we opened this, but before we had
maybe there. Oh, yeah. No, it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the really first artwork. Before we had experienced the art in the street with theater, with the people from theater are awful because they have this way of thinking that art is not something only for generosity, but it's like a therapy for themselves. And we decided not to work with them because it was too complicated then. In 1993, we started by offering this artwork in the city of Douala. It was 2 years of residency of this artist named called Joseph Francis Soumenier. There is a lot of stories around that, but to make it short, this artwork is now the emblem of the city of Douala, and each Cameroonian will see that artwork, that piece of art, knows that we're speaking about Cameroon. And
but it didn't start like that, no? I understood that in the beginning the work wasn't received or not so welcomed, let's say, not so loved.
So this is very interesting because, first of all, the artist changed the scale of working. So it was a challenge for him. And he was working with these recycled materials, and this was our statement. He offered this possibility to represent the way of survival of a majority of persons in Cameroon, which is a recycling of. It's really a way of living because of capacities and so on. So it was, and then this material was like bullshit sorry for the word, for people, for the bourgeoisie, the one who were able to travel. They were saying, oh, Mr. Meyer, put it off. It's awful. We were wanted a kind of Rodin in the street, the one we see in that place and that place. But this kind of work, no, put it somewhere else. This is not the place to put it. You can keep it, and so on. But the people in the streets, they were like, wow, that place particularly was a place where there is what we call the sauveteurs in Cameroon, the sellers in the streets. Mm-hmm. And it was each day full of people, of young guys selling dresses or clothes, And each day, people from the municipality were coming, police were coming and saying them, go, you don't have to stay there. This is not a place for you. But this place where there is nothing. And then
why did they want them to leave there?
Because the public sphere normally is not for commercial.
Yeah.
It's places that has to be kept clean. It wasn't clean. But there were, like the norm was, the rule is, no, people don't have to be in the street to sell. The street is not for selling. So it was like policies to be, that's it. And then when we started in 1993, the artists were installed in a house around, not far from there. We had a lot of presentation of the artists, the project with people around. This is something very important for us. It's part of the process. And this is the reason why, I will respond to your question.
But I think the process is really important. What is the move, let's say?
So important. So important because people don't have, most of the people will once get out their house and they will see something new around them, in front of them. But the people and the leaders around the artwork has to be informed. They have to be aware of something will happen, and it's a part of preparation for peace, you know. I will show. And then, to make it short, it's never short with me, sorry for that.
Totally fine with time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But this is a statement, really. It was like, to answer to your question, the bourgeoisie didn't like it, and it was like, put it off. And people in the street, and these guys, for example, they said, now we can move on, because there is something from us which is still remaining at this place. So we discovered that when they were there, it was for selling, of course, but it was like, this is part of our life. We belong to this place. And we want to stay on that place. And when this artwork came up, they thought that, okay, it's done. And not any problem. There's just one thing, which is sometimes there is full of people. No, there's no problem. But what we can say, and this is really successful, it has been hard because there were some reactions. At that time, we were really, Didier Schaub was someone very transparent, let's say. And we had a lot of difficulties to get money. And then when the artwork was in the roundabout, he decided that we will communicate the cost of that artwork, and we gave the figures in the newspapers. Not a good idea.
No. Never a good idea.
But, well, two things, and I have finished with that. Nowadays, it is the emblem of Cameroon, let's say, because when people look at that piece, they know that we are speaking about Cameroon. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Cameroon decided to include the picture of this artwork in the passports.
Okay, well, that's a victory, no?
And this is like, wow.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Incredible, yeah.
And the second thing is the way people in Cameroon are reappropriate this artwork. They call it, well, there were a time where they were calling it the Njunju, which is the awful monster, you know, the one during the night is coming in your houses but it was like, because it's not beautiful. Sometimes people say it's ugly, but it's a representation of something. So there are the words, the dreams, and the nightmares, maybe, of people were a projection. There were a projection of that. And the second thing is, nowadays, in the city of Douala, when you take a cab and you go to this place, you say, Douala, one place, une place. And the taxi drivers, they bring you there.
Yeah.
This is a landmark in the city of Douala.
Yeah. So. And you mentioned during a conversation previous to this, you said, okay, here there's 3 different approaches, or there's maybe more different approach, but you sort of marked it like this: the question of economy, which is present in this work, the recycling as a survival, basically. but also the recycling of ideas and the landing and the marking of something. You also talked about creating the ground for pieces to land. So maybe if the ground is not yet completely prepared, their negotiation has to happen, basically, to make it land properly, somehow. Then there's the other issue, and I don't know if you will show an image of that, but then if not, you can maybe talk about that. The question of politics, who has the right to speak with regards to the past and the future. And you also mentioned the question of sociability, which I would say that sort of connects the whole project together, the way we are as people together and how the projects are being linked, or how doual'art as a project maybe links the question of sociability. But maybe you can say something about this question of politics.
I will start by sociability.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Perfect, yeah.
We are involved in that question of identity from the beginning. And we are also involved in that question of negotiation, how people can speak together and not fight once again against the other. So we invited a lot of artists from abroad countries because, in Cameroon, a lot of people are really afraid of white persons because the white has been for a long time from the colonization. The people who had power and they were violent and so on. So from generation to generation, there was this fear of white person. And one of the reasons why we wanted to invite artists from abroad countries was also to demystify
the white people.
The white people. To say that they are human beings as you are, and they are all, they can exchange with you. And then our work calling artists to give art in the public sphere, in the social urban sphere is also this platform to create this platform of dialogue between artists and people, and between people themselves. We are at a moment in Cameroon where these ethnic fights are more and more present, and I think we must find ways to deconstruct these violences, deconstruct this fear, deconstruct this thought that to exist, to become someone, you have to erase the others. So one of the artwork this is politics. Next. No, I forgot, I don't have it. Oh, it was a good one. One of the most symbolic artwork has been done by this artist from Belgium. His name is Philippe Aguirre-Yotegi, and he was part of, let's say that we have offered about 100 artworks and events in the city of Douala.
Yeah, maybe we should also, after you explain this work, go to the structure that you built. No, not just doual'art, but also Le Sud. No. Yeah, because that's I would say is an instrument to sort of bundle things together and also to bundle practices together of your methodology, how to work with artists, how to make the works land. But maybe first this one.
So Sud is there.
While you go.
But this is this is a symbolic artwork. Symbolic, not so symbolic because it's a big one. But it has a lot to do with how we can create spaces for dialogue. It's about social area because this is in a neighborhood in Douala where people has nothing. This is a source of natural water in the back.
Well.
It's not a well. It's really a source.
Okay, yeah.
Of natural water. And each day, about 3,000 of people, kids, are coming there to get water. You know, they have no water in the pump. And this is in the city of Douala. And the artist, when he went to this place, there were so many activities. Easy. He decided to offer this amphitheater that people called Théâtre Source Didier Chaube after the passing away of my husband 10 years ago. But it was a Théâtre Source, the Philippe Aguirre-Otegui. And it is now the place where all the discussion about what is going on in this neighborhood is used for. It's a place for negotiation. It's a place for determination of things. It sometimes of course, a lot of young people are giving, are dancing. There's theater. There's
space for performances as well. Yeah.
For people from inside the neighborhood and also for professionals that we invite there. And this have completely changed the way of being together in this neighborhood. By the first period, it was like a dream. It was like we are all in the same space. We love ourselves. We have to do things, a lot of things together, and so on. We have much more than the rich neighborhoods and so on. So people were really proud of this. They call it the jewel. But after and nowadays, we are still working in that area, and it's quite complicated because it's like they had this possibility to speak with the mayor, came for the inauguration. But now it's a conflict of leadership. Who will be the leader of this neighborhood? After that success, something new is coming. And now we are thinking about how can we ask to the artists to come and help us to create new debates. So it's about a lot about art as a tool for discussion, negotiations, but we don't want to instrumentalize the artist because they are free to do what they want to do as an artist, what they want to create. You know, we didn't know that he will do such work, and each work I will show is a creation from an artist, even if it's around a theme. Under a theme, a topic, they do what they want to do. They are not instrumentalized, but they are tools.
So the
artwork is
Le Sud has each time a different topic. Eh? So you started with Le Sud in, what was it, 2007? Yeah, 2007. That was the first one. Started with a symposium, also Ars and Urbis, where you had a discussion about the art and theory, no? In relation to urban transformation. Then there was the second one in 2010, the third one in 2017. I think Ode was 13, part of that. 13, sorry. And you developed, I would call it a methodology, but maybe a wrong word, I don't know. But it's like you said that before the start of each Le Sud, which became a flexible triennial, I should say, perhaps, started first as interactions to meet people. No, so before the work was even there, artists were invited to connect with the people that were living there to together discuss and think together, maybe to sort of find strings that made sense, what to do somewhere.
So doual'art is a laboratory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We work as experimental, and we are looking for methodologies to create those dialogues. And the Sud, we tried in 205 to understand. We did a lot before.
from 1991 till 2005. And we were wondering, what can we do now to be much more in the field of what our utopia is, which is to transform the way of thinking, of the way that people can think to themselves, the way they can act in their environment, the way they can express themselves, the way they can claim for more attention from the government. So we were wondering, after more than 10 years of acting in the field, what can be the new way of doing 2005. And then the decision, the recommendation was, you have to create an event, periodical event, and this event should be the place where you can test a lot of things. Then, the 2 years after, it was the first edition of the Sud. Sud means Salon Urbain de Douala, which means that we want the city to be a living room, salon, a place,
laboratory,
a place to live.
Yeah.
The open air is not a place to fight; it's a place to stay, discuss. And if you are in your living room, you have objects around you, and so
the city became a living room in that sense. Yeah.
That's the explanation of Sud, Salon Urbain de Douala. And we thought that it should be important to invite artists from these different countries, sphere of domains of art, visual artists, because first of all, it's about shaping the city or an area. But it was very interesting and important for us to ask them to work on the same issue, the same topic, and then looking at the different propositions to make people aware of, if we speak about, let's say, water in the city, 2010, water in the city, we were thinking that the artists will speak about the flux, and the water, because les inondations,
floods. Flooding. Yeah.
Because the city of Douala, it's during the rainy season, it's like you have to go on the street with a boat, or speaking about the water supply, because it's not so easy for each family to have it at home. But they spoke about the mythology, Mamiwata was part of the discussion. They spoke about the cosmogony and how people from that area of Douala, coastal part of Cameroon, how they were dealing with the spirits, and how their life as fishermen was defined, and so on, So they opened this different,
much larger perspective, much larger horizon.
This question of water.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. And we had those discussions. So this is the reason. And each edition of Sud has the same topic. And then the artists are creating that artwork where they want to do it. Now it's more and more complicated because Douala is a city of speculation. And there is no spaces open, less and less. It's quite complicated. So we have to invent how and why, where to do the artwork. So this has been a work which has been done with a lot of discussion. A lot of artists came there. Sandra and Camille were put us, because we are asking for curators to help us to identify artists. And they sent Tistenbosch, who stayed there 2 months. He lived in that area 2 months, 2 full months, and he did a lot and so on. So a lot of discussion with people, the deconstruction of the fear, the ability for them to feel themselves are as citizen, because they had this possibility to meet the mayor who came there. They asked for improvement of their settlement and so on. You know, a lot around this social area. They were able to discuss, to define what they want to do together, and to ask for the others, authorities or stakeholders of the development to come in and work with them or for them in that area.
Yeah. And this is the same version of Sud, or edition of Sud, 2013, I understand, or maybe I'm wrong, as the other work, Recto Verso, that is maybe answering to the question of politics, that we
The question of politics is next.
Was last, yeah. But that was, 2017, yeah.
So when we started, people were saying, they are playing. It's a game. Oh, yes, it is. Because
can you explain a little bit about this work that Sylvie Blocher did?
Then we convinced a lot of people in the field, and the one were observers, that art is not only a game, it's also a discourse, it's also a place for expression by an artist, but giving this platform for people. And in 2017, we decided to work on the human dimension. Aude was part of the curator side. And for the first time, we also decided to ask to the artists to be critics about the artwork of the others. So they were part of also the curation. It was very interesting as an experience, very interesting. And the question of human being, the human dimension, but in French it was la place de l'humain. La place, what is the...
What's the place of the human dimension? Yeah.
And a part of the artist's work on the human rights, another part on how citizens are not citizens because they are not recognized as citizens. And one part was very interesting. It was about history. It was about politics. And Sylvie Blocher, who was a French artist, she was very shocked to discover the war before the independence, a few years before the independence of Cameroon. The French colonization was very bloody. And she discovered that a lot of those French people at the head of France were in the past resistant against the German, you know. So they were really full of this idea of independence, the idea of being in my country as someone from my country, but they came to other countries in Africa, for example, and in Cameroon, by excellence. Cameroon and Algeria had kind of the same history with France.
Yeah.
It was very, very hard, very violent. And she decided to say, I don't have the right to say it. The discussion with the artist, between the artist, in between, and with her was very, intense and tense. And then we put this artwork in this place, in exactly this carrefour, the roundabout.
So this was a performance?
No, this is artwork. It's a permanent one. It was supposed to be a permanent one.
The sign is put up.
And
questioning who is allowed to speak, who can speak, who is...
Oh, no, it has been a discussion with Cameroonian. It was very interesting. Why this white person is in this roundabout? Why is she questioning? Is she questioning us? Who is she? This was part of the discussion. But the other one has been very interesting. It was who is able to put artwork in the center of the city. This urban area is at the roundabout of different chiefdoms, and someone stimulates the chief to say, you don't have to accept this, and so on. And there was this discussion between around this artwork between the authorities, the traditional, let's say, authorities, and the Republican authority. And we have done a mistake, and this is one of the reasons why I think this is a very, very interesting politics discussion, which has been that we never spend time to speak with people before the arrival of the artwork.
Yeah, so you never created the ground.
No,
let's say, prepared the ground to land. Yeah, for it to land.
Then 2 days after, a group of persons led by someone who is really against the remaining of colonization, but he's also against white people, I think. He's not against white people. He's against the way the government is dealing with people, the way the government is not giving us space for our memory and the freedom of speech. This is Esama, Blaise Esama. And he came 2 days after. It was very expensive, we spent time there. We have so many months of discussion about this artwork and the others during the Sud. He put it down with a group of persons. But it was like, I assume that it was a free expression. It was not the dialogue I'm fighting for. But it was very interesting because it's engage new conversation inside the world of art, inside people, inside Cameroonian.
But it also brings you to the next edition, perhaps, of Sud, no? If I understood from you that the next edition is in preparation. I was asking 2017. Okay, now what? No. So you said that you are working towards, I think, 2025, if everything happens as it should happen, with a new topic, the future, or maybe the now and the future. The debates about the next edition focus on the city as a museum and what the role is for heritage. No, you have been building, Camille said it already when we were talking with him, this city has so many works in the streets, that have left their traces from all the different versions of Sud and before that. But now you said we need to go deeper into the notions of identity that you have been building on through art inside the city and inside the culture. No?
Yes.
So I think this brings us to the future. And my question is also how is that going? What do you need for that future to happen? To also keep your dreams, because this is 30 years of experience pushing and pulling, and with lots of passion and passionate people to do this takes how do you say that? Resilience, no? To push things through, to believe in things, to continue, to get other people involved, etc. So this question of the future or the near future as a version of Sud, the next step. You mentioned also restitution. This is maybe all too much for the last 20 minutes or something. Free the speech from decolonization, and there's a resonance between this piece and your thinking of the future. Yeah. So
yes, just one word about what happened. We were she and I waiting for time to go to the airport at the last and at the end of their stay, and we were in the garden of doual'art, and there was a young guy, 20 years old, who came in. We were in the dark. And he was wanting to speak with someone, and he saw her, and are you? Yes, I am. I really thought about what you said, because after the falling down of this artwork, a lot of newspapers, the event were.
Yeah, but then the discussion starts, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, I do accept your apologies. So it was like, we did it. So it's about decolonialization, the work of Sylvie, but at the same time, this is... At the same time, it's 2025, because the next edition, which was supposed to take place this year, is not ready. After 2017, this artwork has been done in 2017. It was about memory. It was about how to share history with the other Cameroonians. And it was also to enhance the fact that in the past, our heroes were fighting for values. And then this is a model. And to speak about yesterday and today, we have been asked by the city, by the mayor, to work on, there is about 30 bus station. It was bus stop, I don't know.
Bus stop, yeah.
Bus stop. That this art is called Station de la Mémoire. And we have, on the facade, there's two facades on the left and the right. On one of the facades, you have this representation of Marilyn Douala Manga Bell, my great-grandfather, who has been hanged in 1914 by the German. He's a hero. And we have not any representation of our national heroes in the streets in Cameroon, not any. And then this, and what we have on your left is the kind of one of the representation of the war. And this is a monument. It's about how France is giving thanks to her allies, his allies during the war, And this is one of the only peace monument in the streets in Douala, under the local authorities' decision, And we have this asking from the city to work on those bus stops. There is about 30 bus stops which have been abandoned in the city. And the next edition of Sud, which is entitled Reconnection. Reconnection. This is the title. We want to invite, one of the projects we have for the next edition is to invite about 10 young persons around each bus station, and call artists, one from foreign country, one from Cameroon, to have a discussion about our history, the only common history each Cameroonian have before the partition between British and French-speaking Cameroon. There were the German colonial governance, colonization, and this German colonial period is what all the Cameroonians are sharing. But most of the Cameroonians have no more any idea about what happened, about how they started to become Cameroonian. Before the German colonization, Cameroon doesn't exist as a country. The borders has been created
Like
at the end of the 19th century. So discussion about this history and reappropriation of this history, if they want to do it, by interventions on those 30 bus stations in the city of Douala, to make people aware of the same history, but different ways of speaking about it, of showing it, and create debates about that. Because, as I told, there is no more spaces in the city of Douala for new intervention, empty spaces, but there is this kind of opportunity.
We need to go to the... Do we still have time a little bit for questions? A few questions, if there's questions from the room. Hopefully. Thank you. Yeah. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My name is Johan Koelman. I was wondering what's the role of your family in Cameroon? So you are called princess, or you are from a royal family, but there's also a government. And what's your role in the society?
So my brother is the king now, king of the Bell, huge family. But he's known as the king of the Douala's people, the Douala-speaking people. So it's very, very big, even if there is a lot of fights now. But so, well, it's Douala's people is as an ethnic. It's a group where inside you have a lot of tribes, but it's a group who has the same common language, the same rituals, the same cosmogony, the same link to the water, and so on, you know. So this is how we define the ethnic. We have the same traditions. Well, you can help me if you need, if you like. Nowadays, we have this chance in Cameroon that the chiefdoms, the kingdoms, are part of the discussion, the politics, let's say. Not the decision-making, but there are people, the government goes and speak with them if they want to take a decision. Not to hear from what they want, how they can be part of, but just to tell them what is going on and what they have to do, how they can reduce the hunger. This is my interpretation. They are not really part of the process, of the decision-making process. But they are very important, and people go there to ask for them to be mediators for discussion with the government. This is part. And me, as the princess, I'm not really active, more and more now, but I wasn't when I was married and when I started with doual'art as a contemporary space of fighting for the new... Sorry, Sandra, okay. He's behind you. Oh. I'm trying to answer to his question. Thank you. For everybody. Yes, I know, but you are the one. So my ancestors were visionaires. They have done things for this country of Cameroon, which has been nowadays, not nowadays, but at the 20th century, it was a consequence of what my ancestors has vision for Cameroon. And my work, this is my point of view. Sorry, because I'm not the kind of person who say, I am fighting for. But it's a fact that we have this responsibility to open the eyes of the new generation for the future. And I am fighting for that in the same way as my ancestors did it for the Cameroon. Even if it's not in the traditional rules, I'm not really involved in that. It's the same way of tradition of my ancestors to lead people. I'm not fighting for Douala's people, I'm fighting for Cameroonian. To lead people to be aware of the new times, you know. New things are coming. We are not prepared for that. We don't know what will happen. And there is a lot of violences nowadays, here as in my country, because we're afraid of what's going on, what will happen. So the role of my family as statement, let's say, is to help people to be prepared for the new times in the 19th century, 20th century, 21st century.
Yes, hello. I'm Jacqueline Kostermans, working for the city of Breda in public space, with art in public space. I have a question. We have polarization in our country these days. And I heard you mention before that one of the tasks was to bring all these different ethnic groups, if I understand it correctly, together with discussion on artworks in the public sphere. Do you have advice for us? Because it's very new to us that this polarization is so concrete these days. Do you have an advice for us to bring people together with art in public sphere?
What can we learn from you?
What a question. Spontaneously, I will say you have to find one topic which can be important, relevant for people. And you have to ask to artists to work on that topic, as I'm doing it, to work with, you know, to create, to have, I don't know how to say it, but it's about dialogues. If you have one topic which is, for the majority of people, very important, let's speak about migration, for example. I think it's a topic. And I mean, if you write a concept about this question of migration, which is what is the responsibility of the Netherlands and the colonization, and how people came from, you know, the other country, a concept. You have to write something. This is a topic. And then you maybe call for projects, you know, you can open this topic through the concept you have written and ask the artist to give something back about this same concept. And then you will have this, open this discussion. This is an idea, just spontaneously.
Do we? Yeah, I get the signal. We could be talking for another hour, I'm sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Thank you, Camille, Sandra, Kati, for inviting us. And
May I?
Yeah. But I'm not closing. I'm giving you the last word. A little bit. No. And thank you all for coming. And then Marilyn wants to say something last. Like I said,
my last thank you, all of us. And I like you to be part of the following the suite of what will happen in Cameroon, because we have this possibility to do all what I show you was a lot with the support of church organizations through Camille and Sandra and their organization, ICU and I Strike. And if you can relay what is going on in Cameroon as a laboratory, which can maybe help you to open new doors in your own country, but supporting us and take us as not a model, but an experiment, then we can help you. Thank you very much.